At the airport, my daughter said, "My husband and I are flying business class, and your seat is in economy at the back of the plane. Be grateful you're even coming on vacation with us." She didn't know that I paid for all the tickets. I called the bank and... Good day, dear listeners. It's Clara again. I'm glad you're here with me. Please like this video and listen to my story till the end, and let me know which city you're listening from. That way, I can see how far my story has traveled. I used to think I had raised my daughter right. For 63 years, I had lived a modest but comfortable life in Seattle, working as a school librarian until retirement. My late husband Thomas and I had always believed in teaching Jessica the values of gratitude and humility. But somewhere along the way, something had gone terribly wrong. The signs had been there for months, perhaps even years. I just hadn't wanted to see them. Jessica had married Brandon 3 years ago, a corporate lawyer with slicked back hair and an expensive watch that he checked every 5 minutes. From the beginning, something about him made me uneasy. The way he talked about investments and net worth at family dinners. The way Jessica started dressing differently, talking differently, looking at my small 2-bedroom house with barely concealed disdain. "Mom, you really should update this kitchen," she had said during her last visit, running her finger along my perfectly clean but admittedly dated countertop. Granted is so 2005. I had laughed it off then. But the comments kept coming, each one a small paper cut to my dignity. When Brandon got promoted to senior partner, things accelerated. Suddenly, Jessica was too busy for our weekly coffee dates, too busy to call. When she did visit, she spent most of the time on her phone, texting about charity galas and country club memberships. My daughter, the girl who used to bring me wildflowers from the park, now wore designer shoes that cost more than my monthly grocery budget. Still, I loved her. She was my only child, and despite everything, I wanted to be part of her life. So when she casually mentioned they were planning a 2-week vacation to Hawaii in March, I had an idea. Thomas had left me a substantial life insurance policy when he passed 5 years ago. I had been saving it, living frugally on my pension. What better way to spend some of it than on making memories with my daughter? I spent weeks planning. I called the travel agency, booked a beautiful resort in Maui, arranged everything. 3 business class tickets, Jessica, Brandon, and me. It cost nearly $8,000, but I didn't care. I imagined us reconnecting, walking on the beach, laughing over tropical drinks. My treat, my gift to them. I wanted it to be a surprise. The day we were supposed to leave, I arrived at SeaTac Airport with my small rolling suitcase, my heart full of excitement. I spotted Jessica and Brandon at the check-in counter, dressed in matching linen outfits that probably cost more than my entire wardrobe. I approached them with a smile, ready to reveal my surprise. "Mom," Jessica said, barely looking up from her phone, "you're here." "Of course, sweetheart. I wouldn't miss this for the world." Brandon glanced at Jessica with an expression I couldn't quite read. Something passed between them. Something cold. "Well," Jessica said, her voice taking on a tone I had never heard her use with me before. "Brandon and I are flying business class. Your seat is in economy, in the back of the plane." I stood there, frozen. The noise of the airport seemed to fade away. "What? You should be grateful you're even coming with us on vacation, Mom," she continued, not meeting my eyes. "We discussed this. We're paying for the nice seats because we work hard. You're retired. You don't need the extra legroom." My mouth went dry. Brandon stood beside her, nodding, his arms crossed over his chest like a bouncer at an exclusive club I wasn't allowed to enter. "Jessica, The economy section is in the back," she interrupted, waving her hand dismissively. "Near the bathrooms. You'll be fine. It's only 6 hours." Only 6 hours. In the back of the plane. While my daughter and her husband stretched out in business class. on a trip I had paid for with money my beloved husband had left me. Money I had carefully saved while they spent freely on things they didn't need. They didn't know. They had no idea that every single ticket, every night at the resort, every planned excursion, all of it, was paid for by me. Not by Brandon's fancy salary, not by Jessica's trust fund from her father, by me. By the grandmother they were treating like an inconvenient burden. Something inside me shifted in that moment. Something hard and cold settled into the place where warm maternal love used to live freely. Did they really think I was that pathetic? That desperate for their company? I smiled, a small, careful smile. Of course, I said quietly. Thank you for letting me come along. Jessica finally looked at me then, satisfied, already turning back to her phone. She had won, or so she thought. But as I walked toward the economy check-in line, my hands trembling slightly around the handle of my suitcase, a plan began forming in my mind. A cold, clear plan. They were about to learn a lesson my late husband would have approved of. I sat in seat 43B, wedged between a businessman who smelled like stale coffee and a college student who immediately fell asleep on my shoulder. The engine roar during takeoff matched the roar building in my chest. 6 hours. I had 6 hours to think, to plan, to decide exactly what kind of person I wanted to be after this. Through the gap between seats, I could glimpse the curtains separating business class from economy. Behind that curtain, Jessica and Brandon were probably sipping champagne, reclining in seats that cost me an extra $3,000. Money I had spent believing it would make my daughter happy. Money that had apparently bought me nothing but humiliation. I pulled out my phone before we reached cruising altitude and opened my banking app. The numbers stared back at me, cold and factual. Total trip cost, $14,347.89. Resort for 2 weeks, $8,200. 3 business class tickets, $5,847.89. Rental car, $300. The excursions I had booked, snorkeling, helicopter tour, sunset dinner cruise, another $2,000 that hadn't been charged yet. Thomas had left me $180,000. I had been so careful with it, so frugal. This trip represented nearly a tenth of my entire safety net. And Jessica thought I was some charity case grateful for scraps from her table? My hands shook as I did the math. If I canceled everything right now, I would lose the deposits, but save the bulk of it. The resort had a 48-hour cancellation policy for full refund minus a $500 processing fee. The excursions could be canceled any time before arrival. Even the return flights could be changed for a fee. But was that what I wanted? To run away? To let them discover the truth accidentally when they arrived at the resort and learned nothing was paid for? No. That wasn't enough. That was passive. That was what old, grateful, pathetic grandma would do. A flight attendant passed by with the beverage cart, and I ordered tomato juice, my mind racing. I needed to be smart about this. Strategic. Jessica and Brandon had revealed who they truly were today. People who valued status and money above family, above decency. People who would humiliate an elderly woman at an airport check-in counter. What would Thomas say? I closed my eyes, remembering his face, his gentle wisdom. Margaret, he used to tell me, sometimes the kindest thing you can do is let people face the consequences of their own actions. The plane hit turbulence, and my tomato juice sloshed. The businessman beside me grumbled. But I felt strangely calm now, the fear transforming into something else, something focused. I opened my email and found the confirmation from Maui Grand Resort. Account number, reservation details, everything in my name. Margaret Patricia Henderson, not Jessica Henderson Morrison, not Brandon Morrison. Me. My first plan crystallized. I would let them think everything was fine until we landed. Let them enjoy their champagne, their extra legroom, their smug superiority. Let them walk through that airport in Maui, collect their designer luggage, climb into the rental car that I had paid for, all the while believing they were the generous ones taking poor mom on vacation. And then, at exactly the right moment, I would make one phone call. One simple phone call that would change everything. I pulled up my bank's customer service number. My finger hovered over the call button. Not yet. Not at 30,000 feet. But soon, very soon, Jessica and Brandon would discover what it felt like to have the ground pulled out from beneath them. The seatbelt sign dinged off. Around me, economy passengers shifted, trying to find comfort in spaces too small for human bodies. I thought of Jessica stretching out in her lie-flat seat. Did she feel any guilt? Any shame? Or had she convinced herself that this was somehow fair, somehow justified? I opened a new note on my phone and began typing. Things to cancel. Resort reservation, wait until check-in time. Rental car, wait until they arrive at counter. Return flights for J and B, change to economy or cancel entirely. All excursions under their names, asterisk. Things to keep. My return flight, change to business class, new accommodation for myself, smaller hotel, something modest. The student next to me snored loudly. The businessman's laptop screen showed spreadsheets and profit margins. And I sat there, a 63-year-old retired librarian, planning my daughter's financial humiliation with the cold precision of a chess master. Was I being cruel? Perhaps, but cruelty required malice, and I felt no malice, only clarity. Only the firm conviction that some lessons can only be learned through consequences. The flight attendant's voice crackled over the intercom. 4 hours and 20 minutes to Maui, 4 hours and 20 minutes until everything changed. I smiled to myself and closed my eyes, finally able to rest. We landed in Maui at 3:47 p.m. local time. The Hawaiian sun hit my face as we descended the stairs to the tarmac, and for a moment, I almost forgot why I was angry. The air smelled like flowers and ocean salt. Paradise. A paradise I had paid for. Jessica and Brandon emerged from business class, looking refreshed, glowing. Jessica had changed into a flowing white sundress. Brandon wore aviator sunglasses and a polo shirt with the collar popped. They barely glanced back as I struggled down the narrow aisle with my carry-on. "Mom, hurry up," Jessica called from the bottom of the stairs. "We want to get to the resort before the sunset welcome reception." The sunset welcome reception, the one I had specifically requested when booking, the one with champagne and fresh poke and a traditional Hawaiian blessing. For me, to celebrate my surprise gift to them, I descended carefully, taking my time. Let them wait. At baggage claim, Brandon checked his phone constantly, sighing with impatience. "The car rental place closes the premium counter at 6, he said to Jessica. "We need to move." "Mom, can you grab our bags when they come out?" Jessica asked, not asked, commanded. "We're going to get in line at the rental counter." I watched them walk away, hand in hand, Jessica's sundress floating behind her like she was in a resort commercial. Two people who thought they owned the world because they had money. My money, as it turned out. I pulled out my phone and found a quiet corner by the restroom. My hands were steady now, completely steady. First call, Maui Grand Resort. "Aloha, this is the Maui Grand Resort. How may I help you?" "Yes, this is Margaret Henderson. I have a reservation starting today. Confirmation number GH847293. Keys clicking. "Ah, yes, Mrs. Henderson. We have you in an ocean view suite for 14 nights. We're so excited to welcome you. Will you be arriving soon?" "Actually, I need to make a change to my reservation." Of course. What can I help you with? I took a deep breath. Point of no return. I need to remove 2 guests from my reservation. Jessica Henderson Morrison and Brandon Morrison. It will just be me staying. A pause. Oh, I see. May I ask? Will you still need the suite, or would you prefer to downgrade to a smaller room? I could offer you a lovely garden view room at a reduced rate. The suite is fine, I said. I like space. Absolutely. Let me just update this. And the credit card on file remains the same? Yes. Everything stays charged to my card. Perfect. Mrs. Henderson, I do need to inform you that there were 2 additional names listed as authorized guests on this reservation, Jessica Morrison and Brandon Morrison. I'm removing them now from room access and resort privileges. They will not be able to charge anything to the room or use the amenities under this reservation. Music to my ears. That's correct. Thank you. Is there anything else? Yes. Do you have availability at any other properties? Perhaps something less expensive? I'm asking for someone else. The woman's voice took on a knowing tone. Customer service professionals see everything. We have a sister property about 15 miles north, the Maui Palms Inn. It's a budget-friendly option. 3 stars. Would you like me to check availability? Just out of curiosity, what would 2 weeks cost there? Looking at today's date, approximately $1,400 total. From $8,200 to $1,400. I almost laughed. Thank you. I'll keep that in mind. When I hung up, I saw Jessica and Brandon still in line at the rental car counter, looking annoyed. The line was long, moving slowly. Perfect. Second call. Tropical Rent-A-Car. Aloha, Tropical Rent-A-Car. Hello, I have a reservation under Margaret Henderson, confirmation TRC 44821. Let me pull that up. Yes, a luxury SUV for 14 days. Are you calling to confirm pickup time? I'm calling to modify the reservation. I need to remove authorized drivers. It should only be me on the contract. No problem at all. Can you give me the names you want removed? Jessica Henderson Morrison and Brandon Morrison. Done. They won't be able to drive the vehicle or pick it up without you present. Will you be arriving today? Within the hour. Perfect. We'll have it ready. I hung up and allowed myself a small smile. Through the crowd, I could see Brandon at the counter now, talking animatedly with the rental agent, his credit card in hand. The agent was shaking her head, typing, frowning. Brandon's posture changed, shoulders tensing, head leaning forward aggressively. Jessica joined him, and I watched as they had an animated conversation with the agent. The agent picked up a phone, made a call, shook her head again. Brandon turned, scanning the baggage claim area, looking for me. Our eyes met across the crowded room. For the first time, I saw uncertainty in his face. Confusion. The beginning of understanding that something wasn't right. I gave him a small wave. Just a tiny, grandmother-like wave. Jessica was on her phone now, pacing, her sundress not flowing quite so gracefully anymore. She looked stressed, angry. My phone buzzed. Text from Jessica. Mom, where are you? There's a problem with the rental car. They said it's only in your name? I typed back slowly, carefully. Yes, sweetheart. I paid for it, so it's in my name. I'm at baggage claim. Take your time. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. What do you mean you paid for it? I didn't respond. Instead, I grabbed their designer luggage as it came around the carousel. A matched set of 4 bags, probably costing more than most people's monthly rent. I wheeled them over to where Jessica and Brandon stood, both now staring at their phones with expressions of growing panic. Here are your bags, I said pleasantly. Is everything all right? Jessica's face was flushed. Mom, what is going on? The rental car people said you're the only authorized driver, And I just tried to confirm our resort reservation, and they said—" She stopped, staring at me. "They said the reservation is only under your name. Just you." Brandon's jaw was clenched. "Margaret, what exactly did you pay for?" I looked at him. Really looked at him. This man who had stood beside my daughter while she humiliated me at the airport. This man who had nodded approvingly while she told me I should be grateful for economy seats. "Everything, Brandon," I said quietly. "I paid for absolutely everything." The color drained from Jessica's face. "What do you mean, everything?" "The flights, the resort, the rental car, the excursions I had planned for us." I kept my voice level, grandmother sweet. I wanted it to be a surprise, a gift, my treat. Brandon's expression shifted from confusion to something harder. "That's not possible. Our flights alone cost $5,847, I finished for him, and 89 cents. Business class for 3. Seattle to Maui. Round trip. Would you like to see the receipt?" Jessica grabbed my arm. Her fingers dug in hard enough to hurt. "Mom, this isn't funny. What are you doing?" "I'm being honest with you, sweetheart. Something you haven't been with me." I gently removed her hand from my arm. "You told me at the airport that I should be grateful you were letting me tag along, that you were paying for the nice seats because you work hard and I'm just retired." "I didn't mean—" Jessica started, but her voice faltered. "You did mean it," I said softly. "You meant every word." And that's when I realized that my surprise gift wasn't such a good idea after all. Brandon stepped closer, and I caught a whiff of his expensive cologne. "Margaret, let's be reasonable here. You've made your point. We were rude, we apologize. Now let's go to the resort and enjoy this vacation together." "I don't think so." His eyes narrowed. "You're seriously going to ruin a family vacation over a misunderstanding?" "There was no misunderstanding, Brandon. I understood perfectly. You both think I'm pathetic, a burden, someone who should be grateful for scraps." I pulled my suitcase closer. "So I've made some changes." "What kind of changes?" Jessica's voice had gone shrill. People were starting to stare. "The resort reservation is now only in my name, just me. You're not registered guests." I paused. "The same with the rental car. I'm the only authorized driver." Brandon's face turned red. "That's insane. You can't just— We're already here. We flew all this way." "Yes, you did. On tickets I purchased. You're welcome, by the way." Jessica's eyes filled with tears, but they looked like angry tears, not sad ones. "So what are we supposed to do? Sleep on the beach?" "There are plenty of hotels in Maui. I'm sure you can afford something nice with Brandon's big promotion salary." I started walking toward the exit. "I recommend the Maui Palms Inn. I hear it's budget-friendly." Brandon moved to block my path. A security officer nearby straightened up, watching. "You're not going anywhere until we sort this out." "Am I being detained?" I asked, loudly enough for the security officer to hear clearly. The officer started walking over. Brandon stepped back immediately, hands raised. "Mom, please," Jessica hissed. "Don't do this. We're family." Family. I let the word hang in the air. Family doesn't humiliate each other in airport terminals. Family doesn't assign each other to seats in the back by the bathrooms while enjoying champagne in business class. Family doesn't treat each other like inconvenient charity cases. "We'll pay you back," Brandon said quickly. "For everything, every dollar. Just let us—" "I don't want your money." I looked at Jessica, my only daughter, the child I had rocked to sleep and helped with homework, and walked down the aisle at her wedding. I wanted respect. I wanted to be treated like a human being. I wanted my daughter to remember where she came from. Jessica's tears were falling now. "I'm sorry, okay? I'm sorry." "Is that what you want to hear?" I want you to mean it. I turned to continue toward the exit. The resort has my number if you need to reach me. Enjoy your vacation. You'll regret this, Brandon shouted after me. You think you can manipulate us like this? We'll contest the charges. We'll call the credit card company. I stopped and turned back. The charges went through 3 weeks ago, Brandon. All paid in full. Check with Chase Bank if you'd like confirmation. I smiled. I'm sure, as a lawyer, you understand that, legally, I can modify or cancel services I've purchased at my discretion. His mouth opened and closed like a fish. Jessica grabbed his arm. Brandon, call your parents. Call them right now. We need money for a hotel. I walked away, my small suitcase rolling smoothly behind me. Behind me, I could hear Jessica on the phone, her voice desperate and young, explaining to her father-in-law that they were stranded in Maui, that her crazy mother had done something insane. The automatic doors opened, and warm Hawaiian air embraced me. My hands were shaking again, but not from fear. From adrenaline. From the sheer, overwhelming reality of what I had just done. I had just cut off my daughter in paradise. At the rental car counter, the agent who had dealt with Brandon earlier smiled at me. Mrs. Henderson, your luxury SUV is ready, right this way. As I drove out of the airport in my comfortable leather seat with the air conditioning on and Hawaiian music on the radio, I saw them in my rearview mirror, Jessica and Brandon on the curb with their designer luggage, looking lost and small and furious. I drove to the Maui Grand Resort, checked into my ocean view suite, and locked the door behind me. Then I sat on the bed and cried for 20 minutes. Not because I felt guilty, but because somewhere in the past 3 years I had lost my daughter to greed and status and a man who valued money more than kindness. And getting her back, if that was even possible, would require her to hit bottom first. I ordered room service, took a sleeping pill, and slept for 14 hours straight. For the next 3 days, I didn't leave my suite except to sit on the balcony and watch the ocean. I needed time. Time to process what I'd done. Time to prepare for what came next. Because I knew Jessica and Brandon, and I knew they weren't done fighting. On the 4th morning, there was a knock on my suite door. I was on the balcony, drinking coffee and watching surfers catch waves in the early light. Paradise. Even in my emotional turmoil, I couldn't deny this place was beautiful. I had chosen well. Through the peephole, I saw a delivery person holding an enormous bouquet of tropical flowers, birds of paradise, orchids, plumeria. The card was visible even from a distance, tucked in the front. Mom, I opened the door and accepted the arrangement. It must have cost $300. The delivery man smiled and left. Inside the card, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Let's start over. Come to dinner tonight? We're staying at the Kapalua Resort. 7 p.m. Your daughter who loves you, Jessica. P.S. Brandon sends his apologies too. Kapalua Resort. I looked it up on my phone. 5-star luxury. Rooms starting at $800 per night. So Brandon's parents had come through with money. Or perhaps they'd maxed out a credit card. Either way, they'd landed on their feet. Part of me, the mother part, the part that had changed Jessica's diapers and nursed her through chickenpox, wanted to say yes. Wanted to believe this was real. That 3 days apart had transformed my daughter back into someone who understood gratitude and humility. But the other part of me, the part that had spent 63 years watching people, knew better. I texted back. Thank you for the flowers, they're beautiful. I need more time. The response came within seconds. How much time? We're here for 11 more days. Please, Mom, I miss you. I didn't answer. An hour later, another text. Dinner anywhere you want, your choice. Please? Then, We could do the sunset cruise together, the one you mentioned. Our treat. My treat, actually. I had booked it, but I'd canceled their spots. I texted, I appreciate the offer. I'm not ready yet. The text stopped. For a while. That afternoon, I went down to the resort pool for the first time. I needed to be around people, around life. I couldn't hide in my suite forever, no matter how comfortable it was. I chose a lounger in the shade and opened the book I'd brought. A thriller about a woman who fakes her own death. Appropriate, perhaps. Is this seat taken? I looked up. A woman about my age, maybe slightly older, with silver hair and kind eyes behind tortoiseshell glasses. She wore a simple one-piece swimsuit and had a canvas bag full of books. It's all yours, I said. Thanks, I'm Linda, from Portland. She settled in with the ease of someone comfortable in her own skin. Margaret, Seattle. Beautiful here, isn't it? She gestured at the ocean view. I come every year, just me. My husband passed 3 years ago. Hawaii was our special place. Something about her openness invited confession. Maybe it was the gentle voice. Maybe I was just desperate to talk to someone who wasn't Jessica or Brandon. I'm sorry about your husband, I said. I lost mine 5 years ago. It doesn't get easier, Linda said, just different. We sat in comfortable silence for a while. Then Linda asked, Are you here alone? It's complicated, I said. And then, to my surprise, I told her everything. The airport humiliation, the payments, the confrontation. All of it spilled out like water from a broken dam. Linda listened without interrupting, her expression shifting from sympathy to understanding to something like respect. When I finished, she was quiet for a moment. Then she said, Good for you. I blinked. What? Good for you, she repeated firmly. Margaret, I have 3 children. I love them desperately. But if any one of them ever spoke to me the way your daughter spoke to you, she shook her head. Some people need to learn that respect isn't optional, that kindness isn't weakness. You don't think I'm being cruel? Cruel would be doing nothing and letting them think that behavior is acceptable. You're teaching her a lesson. The question is, will she learn it? That evening, my phone rang. Jessica. I let it go to voicemail. Her message. Mom, please. I know you're angry. I know we hurt you. But shutting us out completely? That's not like you. You're kind. You're forgiving. You're my mother. Please just talk to me. I played the message for Linda over dinner. We decided to eat together at the resort restaurant. 2 widows enjoying fresh fish and good wine. Linda frowned. She's pushing your buttons. That's not like you. You're kind. She's trying to manipulate you into being who she wants you to be, someone she can take advantage of. Or maybe she's genuinely sorry, I said, though I didn't quite believe it myself. Margaret. Linda put down her fork and looked at me seriously. In my experience, real apologies come with changed behavior, not expensive flowers and guilt trips. Has she acknowledged what she did wrong? Has she asked what she can do to make it right? Or is she just sorry she got caught? I thought about the texts, the dinner invitations, the hour treat offer for an excursion I had originally paid for. The latter, I admitted. Then you hold your ground, Linda said. You're not being cruel. You're being wise. That night, I slept better than I had in days. Having someone in my corner, someone who understood, made all the difference. I had found my social support in an unexpected place. A stranger who became a friend over shared loss and shared wisdom. And I was going to need that support, because I knew Jessica and Brandon weren't done trying. On day 7, they showed up at my suite. I had just returned from a morning snorkeling excursion with Linda. My new friend had convinced me to stop hiding and actually enjoy the vacation I'd paid for. We'd seen sea turtles and tropical fish, and I'd felt almost peaceful for the first time since arriving. Then I opened my door and found Jessica and Brandon standing in the hallway. "The front desk called you," Jessica said accusingly. "They said we were here. Why didn't you come down?" I had ignored the call. I was getting dressed. "How did you know which suite?" "I told them I was your daughter and that it was a family emergency," Jessica said, pushing past me into the room. Brandon followed, closing the door behind them. The energy shifted immediately. This wasn't a friendly visit. "Nice place," Brandon said, looking around at the ocean view, the king bed, the sitting area. "Must be expensive." "It is," I said evenly. "Can I help you with something?" Jessica sat on my bed, and put on what I used to call her serious face. The one she'd used when she was 12 and wanted to convince me she needed the expensive dress for the school dance. "Mom, we need to talk about this situation." "What situation?" "This." She gestured vaguely. "Punishment you're inflicting on us." "I'm not punishing anyone. I'm enjoying my vacation." Brandon crossed his arms, positioning himself between me and the door. "Margaret, let's cut the bullshit. You're angry. We get it. You've made your point. But this has gone on long enough." "Brandon—" Jessica started, but he held up a hand. "No, Jess. Let me handle this." He turned to me with his lawyer face on. "Here's the reality, Margaret. You're retired. You're living on a fixed income. You just spent nearly $15,000 on a vacation, alone. That's not financially responsible. In fact, it's concerning." My blood went cold. "Excuse me?" "We're worried about you," Jessica chimed in, her voice dripping with false sweetness. "Spending this kind of money, making these impulsive decisions, pushing away your family. These are signs of, well, cognitive decline." I stared at her. My daughter. Suggesting I was losing my mind. "We've been talking," Brandon continued smoothly, "and we think you might need help. Professional help. Managing your finances, making decisions. Jessica has been researching conservatorship options." "Conservatorship?" The word came out sharp as a knife. "It's for your own good," Jessica said, standing up. "We can't just stand by while you throw away Dad's life insurance money on spite vacations and—" "Get out." They both froze. "Get out of my suite, now." "Mom, you're not hearing us," Jessica said, her mask slipping. "We're trying to help you, but if you won't accept our help willingly, we have options. Legal options." "Are you threatening me?" I felt strangely calm. Eerily calm. Brandon stepped closer. "We're offering you a choice, Margaret. You can come to dinner with us tonight. We can work this out like adults, and we can all salvage this vacation, or—" He paused dramatically. "Or we can pursue legal channels to ensure you're properly cared for. A woman your age, making erratic financial decisions, showing signs of paranoia and spite. I'm 63, Brandon, not 93. Doesn't matter. The courts take these things seriously." His smile was ugly. "Especially when there's significant assets at stake. Jessica is your only heir. She has a duty to protect your estate." There it was. The truth. The mask had slipped completely off. They didn't want reconciliation. They wanted control. Control of me. Control of Thomas's life insurance money. Control of my house, my decisions, my life. Jessica was crying now, but they were manipulative tears. "Mom, please. Just say you'll have dinner with us. Just say we can fix this. I can't stand the thought of having to take legal action against my own mother." I walked to the door and opened it. "Get out. You're making a huge mistake," Brandon said, his voice low and threatening. "You think you can embarrass us, humiliate us, and there won't be consequences? The only consequence I see is that my daughter revealed who she really is, and I'm grateful for that clarity." Jessica grabbed her purse, her face twisted with rage. Fine, fine. But don't come crying to us when you're alone and broke and you've alienated everyone who ever cared about you. I'll take my chances. They left, slamming the door hard enough to rattle the artwork on the walls. I stood there, shaking. Not from fear exactly, from adrenaline, from fury, from the sheer audacity of what they'd just attempted. Conservatorship. They had threatened me with conservatorship. I called Linda immediately. She came to my suite within 15 minutes, took one look at my face, and poured us both wine from the minibar. "Tell me," she said. I told her everything, the threats, the implications of cognitive decline, the legal intimidation. Linda's expression grew darker with each sentence. "Margaret, this is elder abuse. What they just did is legally considered elder abuse." "They're bluffing," I said, though my hands were still shaking. "They have to be." "Maybe, but you need to protect yourself. Document everything, every text, every conversation, every threat." I nodded, pulling out my phone. I started a new note. Documentation, Jessica and Brandon Morrison, Day 7, Maui. As I typed out everything that had just happened, I felt my fear transforming into something else. Determination. Cold, hard determination. They wanted to play legal games. They wanted to threaten my autonomy, my dignity, my freedom. Two could play that game. And I had something they didn't. Moral high ground, clear documentation, and a very smart new friend who happened to be a retired family court judge. "Linda," I said slowly, "how would you feel about helping me make sure I'm legally protected?" She smiled. It wasn't a warm smile. It was the smile of someone who'd spent 30 years protecting vulnerable people from predators. "I thought you'd never ask." On day 10, I invited Jessica and Brandon to lunch. The text I sent was simple. "Let's talk. Mama's Fish House. 1 p.m. tomorrow. My treat." Jessica's response came within minutes. "Thank God. Yes, we'll be there." Linda helped me prepare. We spent the morning going over documents, making sure everything was in order. She'd made some calls to colleagues in Washington State. "Just as a precaution," she'd said with that same sharp smile. I dressed carefully. A simple but elegant dress Thomas had bought me years ago. Pearl earrings, my wedding ring. I wanted to look like exactly what I was, a dignified woman who knew her worth. They were already at the restaurant when I arrived, seated at a table with an ocean view. Jessica had clearly dressed for victory, designer sundress, expensive jewelry. Brandon wore slacks and a button-down, his lawyer armor. "Mom." Jessica stood up and tried to hug me. I allowed it briefly. "Thank you for coming," I said, sitting down. "Of course," Brandon said smoothly. "We're family. Family works things out." The server came and took our drink orders. I ordered water. I wanted to be completely clear-headed for this. "So," Jessica said, reaching across the table for my hand. I didn't pull away. "We've done a lot of thinking this past week." "So have I said. "We were hurt by what you did," Brandon started, but I held up my hand. "Let me speak first, please." They exchanged glances but nodded. I took a breath. "I've spent the last 10 days thinking about how we got here, about what I did wrong as a mother, about where things went off track." Jessica's expression softened. This was what she expected, my apology, my capitulation. "And I've realized," I continued, "that I enabled behavior that should never have been tolerated. I taught you, Jessica, that your comfort was more important than anyone else's dignity. I taught you that money equals worth. I failed you." "Mom, no." "Let me finish." My voice was steel wrapped in velvet. "I failed you by not teaching you consequences, by always bailing you out, by prioritizing your feelings over basic human decency." Brandon's eyes narrowed. "Margaret." "I'm not finished." I pulled out my phone and set it on the table. "I've documented everything that's happened this week. Every conversation. including the one 3 days ago when you threatened me with conservatorship. The color drained from Jessica's face. That's not, we were just concerned, Brandon started. You threatened to have me declared mentally incompetent so you could control my finances. That's called elder abuse, Brandon. I'm sure as a lawyer, you're aware of the legal definition. You're twisting our words, Jessica said, her voice rising. We were trying to help you. By suggesting I'm too mentally unstable to manage my own money. By implying you'd seek legal guardianship over me? I pulled out a folder Linda had helped me prepare. I've consulted with a family court judge. I've documented the timeline. I've recorded the threats. Brandon's professional mask cracked. You recorded us without consent? That's illegal in some states. Washington is a two-party consent state, I said calmly. Hawaii is one-party consent. I was well within my legal rights to record our conversation in my hotel suite. I hadn't actually recorded it, but they didn't know that. And even without recordings, I have a credible witness who saw you leaving my suite in an agitated state. A witness who happens to be a retired judge. Jessica was crying now, real tears this time, panicked tears. Mom, please, you're blowing this all out of proportion. We said things we didn't mean. We were angry. You were manipulative. You attempted financial coercion, and you revealed that your primary concern isn't my well-being. It's my money. That's not true, Jessica shouted. People at nearby tables turned to look. Isn't it? I kept my voice low, forcing them to lean in. Tell me, Jessica. When was the last time you called me just to ask how I was? Not because you needed something. Not because it was a holiday. Just because you loved me and wanted to hear my voice. Silence. Tell me when you last visited my house without criticizing something about it. More silence. Tell me one thing, one single thing, you've done in the past year that prioritized my happiness over your own convenience. Jessica's mouth opened and closed. No words came out. Brandon tried a different tack. Look, we all made mistakes here. Let's just move forward. You cancel the documentation, we apologize sincerely, we all go home and forget this happened. No, I said simply. No? His voice was sharp. No, because you haven't learned anything. You're not sorry for what you did. You're sorry you got caught. You're sorry there are consequences. What do you want from us? Jessica demanded. You want us to grovel? Fine. I'm sorry, Mom. I'm so sorry. Is that enough? I want you to understand that love isn't transactional, that respect isn't optional, that family isn't about what you can get from each other. It's about what you give. I stood up, leaving money on the table for the meals we hadn't ordered. When you genuinely understand that, not just say it, but live it, then maybe we can rebuild our relationship. Until then, I think it's best if we maintain distance. You're cutting us off? Brandon stood up too. Completely. I'm protecting myself from people who have proven they'll manipulate and threaten me when they don't get what they want. People who see my generosity as weakness and my love as something to exploit. Jessica grabbed my arm. Mom, you can't do this. I'm your daughter. Your only daughter. I gently removed her hand. And you'll always be my daughter. But that doesn't give you the right to abuse me. We never abused you, she screamed. The entire restaurant had gone quiet now. I looked at her. Really looked at her. My baby girl. The child I had loved more than life itself. And I saw a stranger. A grown woman who had learned all the wrong lessons about what mattered in life. Yes, Jessica, I said quietly. You did. I walked out of Mama's fish house with my head held high, leaving them sitting at that table, finally, facing the consequences of their own actions. Outside, Linda was waiting in the rental car. How did it go? She asked. Perfect, I said. Perfectly awful. And perfectly necessary. She squeezed my hand. You did the right thing. I nodded, though my heart was breaking into 1,000 pieces. Sometimes the right thing is also the hardest thing. The rest of the Hawaii trip passed peacefully. Linda and I explored the island together, hiked through bamboo forests, watched sunrise from a volcanic crater, took a sunset cruise where dolphins swam alongside our boat. I did all the excursions I had originally planned, just with better company. Jessica and Brandon sent texts, dozens of them, angry ones, pleading ones, threatening ones again. I forwarded all of them to Linda, who documented everything in a file she called Protection Portfolio. Just in case, she said. People who threaten conservatorship once often try again. On my last day in Maui, I received an email from Brandon's law firm email address, his first mistake. The message demanded I reimburse them for their stranded expenses in Hawaii. Total, $8,347. They gave me 30 days to pay, or they would pursue legal remedies. I forwarded it to Linda. She laughed out loud. He just created a paper trail showing attempted financial coercion of an elder family member from his work email. His firm's ethics board would love to see this. I flew home business class. The flight attendant brought me champagne. I toasted silently to Thomas. 2 weeks later, I received a formal demand letter from an attorney. Not Brandon. He'd hired someone else. Demand for $8,347 plus emotional damages of $25,000. Total, $33,347. I called Linda. They actually did it. Good, she said. Now we respond. The response letter came from Linda's former colleague, a lawyer specializing in elder law. It outlined everything. My generous gift, the airport humiliation, the conservatorship threats, the attempted financial coercion. It concluded with a counterclaim for elder abuse, emotional distress, and harassment. We sent it certified mail. The response came within 48 hours. Jessica, calling at 11 p.m., sobbing. Mom, please make this stop. Brandon's firm is investigating him for the email. He might lose his job. Please just drop everything and we'll drop everything. You wanted legal remedies, Jessica. Now you have them. But Brandon could be disbarred. His whole career could be ruined. He should have thought of that before threatening his mother-in-law from his work email. Mom, I'm begging you. I'll do anything. Anything? Yes, anything. I took a breath. Therapy. You and Brandon. Real family therapy for at least 6 months. And a written apology. A real one. Taking full accountability. No excuses. That's it? That's it. Do those 2 things and I'll drop all counterclaims. And then we can see each other again? After 6 months of therapy, we can revisit that conversation. If your therapist thinks you've done the work. A long pause. Okay, we'll do it. Jessica, I love you. I will always love you. But I will never again allow you to treat me with disrespect. I know, she whispered. I'm sorry. I'm really, truly sorry. For the first time since the airport, I heard something genuine in her voice. Then prove it, I said gently, not with words, with actions. 3 days later, a handwritten letter arrived from Jessica. 3 pages. No excuses. Just accountability, pain, and the beginning of understanding. At the bottom, I've scheduled our first therapy appointment. I'm scared, Mom. Scared of what I've become. Scared I've lost you forever. But I'm willing to do the work. I called Linda. They surrendered completely. How do you feel? Victorious, and heartbroken, and hopeful. All at once. The letter from Brandon's firm arrived a week later, confirming all claims were dropped. Brandon kept his job, but with a formal reprimand in his file. I didn't gloat. I simply filed the papers away and moved forward. Thomas's life insurance money sat safely in my account. My dignity was intact. My boundaries were clear. The war was over. I had won. Not because I had destroyed them, but because I had refused to be destroyed. 6 months passed. I returned to Hawaii twice more with Linda. The Maui Grand Resort staff remembered me, upgraded my room both times. My life transformed completely. I started a book club at my local library, joined a watercolor painting class, volunteered at a senior center, helping elderly people protect themselves from financial exploitation. My house became a gathering place for friends who valued conversation over expensive countertops. I invested Thomas's life insurance money wisely, but also enjoyed some: a new car, updated appliances, a library donation in his name. I felt free. Jessica and Brandon, meanwhile, were struggling. Her weekly therapy texts told everything. Dr. Martinez asked when I stopped seeing you as a person. I'm so ashamed. Brandon's firm cut his partnership timeline by 3 years. We had to sell the Lexus. We were living beyond our means. I saw you laughing with friends. You looked so happy, Mom. I realize how much of your light I'd been dimming. Brandon wasn't promoted. They downsized their condo. Their country club membership lapsed. For the first time, they faced real consequences. I didn't rescue her. The most loving thing was letting her learn. Month 7. Dr. Martinez says we might be ready for coffee, only if you're willing. I texted back, coffee, public place, 1 hour,